I'm attempting to fix this crack here. You can just about see it now. I've been working on this a little bit. The usual advice probably is to take strings off, pull this back a bit, and then put some wood glue in here and then seal it up. Now, I've had a little bit of a go at that. It doesn't really open up very much more than this already. It really doesn't open up this one unless I really pry it, and I don't want to do that on this guitar because it already plays. It plays very, very well despite this horrible looking crack. I've gone over it a couple of times with black paint and whatnot to sort of try and do something with it, but it doesn't really, you know, it's still very much there. So what I've done is I've cleaned this with the methylated spirit I'm using just to sort of clean this as much as possible. And I've got very low viscosity glue, which I'm hoping is going to kind of drip into this and pretty much just kind of seal it up enough to keep it stable and also not look unsightly. With any luck, it might vaguely disappear once I also then repaint. That's the idea. So I've basically get the methylated spirit. That's what I've been using. Douse a bit onto some, you know, kitchen towel or something, and just wipe it on there. You can see it sort of comes up quite nicely. It's sort of, you know, you can see it wet there. I've done that once or twice already, but it basically like do that, and then you let it dry. And then what I'm hoping is I'm going to put the glue in, and then you can really quite see it quite nicely there actually coming up the crack. So what I'm going to do once that is dry, we'll drop in the glue and let's see what that does. So I've got the low viscosity glue. Now I have to say you really has to be that kind of thing, low viscosity, because otherwise that's really not going to do much in there and it's not going to really drip in. Seconds to do this in. It literally 5 seconds to 20 seconds they say. So I'm just trying to apply this very lightly, because what I could do, assuming it does dry quite nicely, is it actually does go all the way along there. So I'm going to keep going. I'm not prescribing necessarily and saying this is the best way of doing things, but obviously I've got the guitar propped up on it so you can already see it's dripping a bit, which is not really what I want. I'll just grab that, because I already tried a couple of different glues which just basically just came off, didn't really do anything. Really, you could use, I mean, the best way of doing this is wood glue or what have you. See, it's already left a nice white streak there. We shall see. I'm not too worried because it's black anyway, so this is relatively easy to work on. I certainly wouldn't do this on a nicely sort of finished nitro or poly neck. This is just a really thin black finish on a black guitar, so it's quite easy to work with here. And I'm just going to leave that for a few moments. For you, it will be instantaneous, and we'll come back and see what it looks like. Okay, so we've let it dry. As you can see, it's quite difficult to see, but the cracking in the neck is kind of merging a bit there. Now what I'm doing is I've got 1500 grit sandpaper here. You could be a bit more fierce with this if you wanted, and really go for it, but I want to be kind of quite gentle on it really, and just kind of go slowly, because all I'm looking for is a smooth finish to this. The low viscosity glue has really sunk in there, so that's great. And I'm not too worried about the mess because I'm going to sand this all back anyway, and I'll show you the final result once we get there. But yeah, that's looking pretty good actually. Let's see. So yeah, you can kind of see that the crack is kind of merging with the rest of it, which is what I was aiming for. So the glue is sunk in. You can just about make out the little crack there. I'm showing you the line with the edge of my sandpaper there. But yeah, it's really sort of disappearing a lot. So after a little bit more sanding, and now I'm just wiping this down with the methylated spirit again. And you can see, hopefully, it's all but disappeared. You can see the line of where the glue is, which I probably need to take down a bit more, but it is really, and I can feel it feels very smooth now. So I've done a bit more sanding. As you can see, it's really starting to merge now. You really barely make out. The crack is now gone. You can't see that. What you're seeing is the outline of the glue. So I would just repeat though, this is a kind of a worn finish guitar. So I would really, it's difficult with a nitro or a poly finish. You could go down this route as well, but unfortunately I think whatever you're going to do on that kind of finish, if it's not a worn finish, it's going to be more challenging to patch up. I know from experience this is going to be relatively easy to patch up. Secret tip as well, you could use nitro, you could use poly, you could use all sorts of paints on this. I've cheekily actually been using, I used a bit of car spray on this just to see what it would do, because I've got all sorts of paints, so I just thought, well, why not? I'll just try everything. I'm using this as a bit of an experiment. A bit of car spray actually, I mean, really what you should do is probably mask everything off, or, you know, what's the fun with that? You can just experiment. So I experiment. I sprayed some quite a lot into a tub, and then and you shouldn't do this, I'm not saying do this, I applied it, stuck my finger in and applied some just to get a kind of a smooth finish, and it did look really good. Now I wouldn't do that, obviously it's toxic, do not stick your finger in, but that does work. So there you go, that's another thing. Anyway, you can see it's looking really nice and smooth there, it's really coming together. You can basically, I mean, the crack has all but pretty much disappeared, so that's looking fantastic. Okay, so there we are after some sanding and polishing, and really you can barely make that crack out anymore, if at all. It's pretty much gone. This is before I've actually done any painting over it, so I think that's a really, really good result. I'm very, very happy with that. So yeah, very good.